had cyber attacks on the Internet Archive, brought us down for 3 days from crawling, 5 days of the Wayback Machine. We were offline, and a week before other things. So that was a hit. But we've also had Seattle Public down, that they were down for months. Toronto Public, Hamilton, Calgary Public, British Library suffered a ransomware attack. And now we have all sorts of other attacks on libraries. Of course, the book bannings, the criminalization of librarianship, the structural problems of licenses that are making it so that libraries don't own anything anymore, are making it so that our jobs are much harder. And I think we should now figure that it's not just like, oh, there's a one-off over there. We have to figure out what to do. And I think lots of copies keep stuff safe. Going and controlling your own infrastructure makes it so you're less at the behest of somebody else. If we're here to protect our collections, our services, and our patrons, what happens when, well, we shuttle our patrons off to other people's database products and they can be spied on and packaged and sold to people that we may not know? So the good thing about this is actually the technology has gotten to be relatively easy to actually own, control, and lend out your own materials. It's kind of surprising, but if you take all of the books, the 8 million books that the Internet Archive has digitized over the years, and all of the periodicals, 5 million issues, this is larger than most libraries in the United States. If you just took the text, not the images, but the text, it would fit on a thumb drive this size. That means that you could actually serve all of that on a Mac Mini that costs $1,500. So we have a turning point where we actually don't need the mainframe structures of times gone by to be able to operate our own collections. So would I recommend that for everybody? Yeah, probably. But do we need the tools to get a lot better? Yes. And we need to change the structure such that we own and control our own infrastructure. Then make copies, have buddies, go and make copies other places so that if you get hit with a ransomware and they encrypt your stuff, you may be back a week or something like that, but you can go and restore from offsite copies. This isn't that hard if we took it seriously. Our libraries are turning into a Netflix of books that these materials can blink on and offline all the time. The publishers can go and change what the written record is in all libraries all at once. This makes no sense. This violates the basic structure of what libraries do in terms of collecting, preserving, lending, and then interoperating with other libraries. But this whole slip into the license-only world, I think, kind of snuck up on a lot of librarians because they thought the print was the primary, and these sort of digital things are kind of hard. We didn't have the skills for them, took mainframes, but most of that has all changed. Going and managing, a bunch of EPUBs or PDFs, it's just not that hard anymore. But we've ended up not owning anything. And that is an enormous problem. It means that we're dependent on others that we don't control. And we're not doing some parts of our base job. We always say, well, we focus on access, but preservation is also a key component. There's a tragic evolution of the internet. It offered the opportunity for universal access to all knowledge, that we could take the published works of humankind and make them available to anybody that wants to have access to it. And with payments, there's enough money for all of this, and to get authors paid and the like. But it hasn't really happened. The question is why? And it's these very concentrated positions of power that we've made into platforms, publisher platforms, that have made it so that we aren't building on the shoulders of giants. In fact, this generation, anybody under the age of 40, is basically brought up on what it is they've seen on screens. And yes, Wikipedia is kind of awesome, but it's thin. It needs more. We need all of the rest of it, and it's not there. And we're starting to have people confused about very basic things like, did the Holocaust happen? What's the history of the 20th century? Because the publishers have made sure it's not available to this generation, only to those through database products that they don't, large part people don't use. So we have taken the great opportunity and shortchanged a generation such that they don't even have a library system that's as good as the one that I grew up with. If you want access to quick things, you can do that much more rapidly than when I was growing up. But the library system has been decapitated. So we need the library system to inform everyone. And there's enough money to do this, yet we're structurally playing into a game that has very few winners. We want a game with many winners. We want to have lots of authors, some of which are paid, some of which are academic or whatever, they just want to be read. Fine, we want lots of publishers, small publishers being able to make money out there. We want lots of libraries going and supporting local communities, local newspapers, local things, as well as the broad range of materials. We want an interlibrary loan system that is fervent. We want lots of booksellers. We're not getting any of that out of this generation, and some of it's the lack of antitrust enforcement that has come into play since the 1980s when we started this whole internet project. But it's more than that. It's libraries playing into and funding and fueling these large-scale aggregators. So even the Hati trusts, the JSTORs, the nonprofit, OCLC, we have these lock-in problems, these sort of, it's all licensed by me. It doesn't need to work that way. And we could have good maintenance of all of these organizations and the publishing structures in a much more decentralized way that would serve the general populace as well as these particular populations served by the libraries. It is tragic, and it's bringing our civic infrastructure to a standstill. We have disputes about things we shouldn't be having disputes on, and it's large part, I'd suggest, because we've locked up our materials and not made them very available. We're seeing some smaller publishers see that they're not going to win by playing the monopoly games of the big platforms. Usually when people talk about platforms, they think about Facebook and Twitter. Yes, those are large publishing enterprises, but so is the Hooplas, the Overdrives, the Science Directs. These platforms push out the smaller players because they have to play by somebody else's games. So I think we need to buy directly. We need small publishers that are supported by libraries. Libraries have the budget still. Yes, we're getting defunded. Yes, we have book bans. Yes, we have criminalization of librarianship. Yes, there's real problems. IMLS just went down. But we still are supported by citizens. Let's go and build independent publishers, independent authors that will sell their works to libraries. That is the hope for the future. Let's go and stand tough when libraries stand up for their rights. Like when UC went and stood up to major academic publishers to go and make sure they have things. What did all the rest of the libraries do? They mostly just stood on the sidelines and cheered. It's like, yeah, how can we become all participants in a movement to make it so that we have a library system with a game with many winners, that we end up with informed citizenry, education system that works, editions without being able to be changed underneath our grasp. That's what it's going to take. And that's what the Internet Archive is trying to help make happen through book server, through controlled digital lending, through other approaches that are actually finding homes, say, within the European law structure, where the United States is turning its back on libraries. think every librarian and every citizen should know that libraries are under attack. And it's not just isolated things against, say, the Internet Archive or others. It's overall. And we need to stand tough, strong, spend our budgets differently, inform our people differently. Now is a time that I think people realize that we need to keep copies. We need to have libraries that have actual collections. So let's go and have the technical expertise in-house in our libraries. Again, it's not very hard. It can all run on an IBM PC, a single one, to be able to serve a community of thousands, tens of thousands of people. So we have an opportunity not to turn time back, but to remember how the publishing structure worked. Publishers would make things, they'd sell them. They would go to individuals and they'd go to libraries, and those libraries kept them available. And they also worked with other libraries through interlibrary loan, the magic system of the internet, of the library system. Let's go and make that healthy, strong, robust.